Welcome back, everyone. This is Isaac from 90s Nerd Media. I'm back on the couch with another review. Today I'm doing Monday Night Raw from Monday, March 24th, 2025. So tonight's Monday Night Raw came to us from Glasgow, Scotland, so let's get into it. Okay, so we start tonight off with another promo from John Cena. And just like last week, the crowd was giving it to him, gave him a lot of hate. And just like last week, John Cena stood there and he took it. But today he got more focus into his promo, and he told us that his ultimate plan is to win the WWE Championship and then retire and take the belt away so that he can ruin wrestling. So, according to him, he wants to be the last champion ever, and so he's just going to basically take his belt and go home. So, of course, Cody Rhodes couldn't stand for that. He came out and addressed John Cena and said, "Look, me, the fans here, we can't let you do that." And he then threw down the title and he was like, "Look, if you want this belt, you got to take it from me right now." And John Cena, being a classic heel, he looked like he was going to confront Cody, but then he just walked away. And I feel like that's a classic heel move where you walk away like a coward, and for some reason that just like infuriates the crowd even more than if you actually stood there and fought. So that was a funny move from Cena, and thankfully this promo was a little bit shorter than last week, and I feel like it was a bit more effective. Okay, so the first match of the night, we had Jey Uso versus A-Town Down Under, and it was announced that Jey would have a surprise tag team partner. So Jey came out, did his entrance, and then we saw that his tag team partner was his brother Jimmy. And so this was a reunion of the Uso brothers. This was their first time wrestling together in 18 months. And so I think it was good just seeing them back in the ring together. I think they flowed together seamlessly. It didn't look like they really missed any time off with each other. They were hitting a lot of the same tag moves that they used to. So I think that was pretty fun just seeing them back together. And A-Town Down Under is a good tag team for them to go against. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller are really good in the ring. They're great sellers, and they make their opponents look good. So it was a nice match and a nice reunion having the Usos back together. They picked up the win, and then Gunther came out yet again and attacked Jey Uso. This time, Jey looked like he was going to attack back, but he slipped, and Jimmy had to come in with the save. But overall, this was a pretty good start to Monday Night Raw. One of the better matches that we had of the night. Okay, so next we see a pre-recorded promo detailing the life and the legend of El Grande Americano, the mysterious luchador who's been popping up on wrestling for the past few weeks. And I just love when wrestling leans all the way into the goofiness. We cut the camera to Adam Pearce, who's standing there with Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio, who obviously are offended at this person who's like making a mockery of the luchador culture. And then we have Chad Gable come in, and he's coughing and pretending to be sick and says he has a doctor note for why he can't wrestle tonight. And so Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee were just done. And Dragon Lee was like, you know what, just whatever, I'll take the match. And so this basically set up the first official match for El Grande Americano. So yeah, I love when wrestling, when they just have a goofy storyline and they lean all the way in. And obviously it's ridiculous, but it's also fun because everyone in the storyline is committed. And also I feel like they're going to put on good matches. So I'm going with this storyline as long as they continue to pull it off. But it was definitely one of the funnier moments of the night. Okay, so the next match was a championship match between Lyra Valkyria and Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And I feel like Lyra has been one of the better performers on Monday Night Raw. I think she's been on fire lately, putting on great matches. And obviously Raquel, she's been on the run lately. She's picked up the Women's Tag Team Championships with Liv Morgan. So I think it was interesting that they decided to put Raquel, who just picked up a tag team championship, in a solo title match against Lyra. But overall, I think it was a pretty good matchup. I think both women look strong in the ring. Obviously, Lyra, she's smaller, so she had to use her speed and agility to kind of take down Raquel. And we had a couple of big spots inside and outside of the ring. But Lyra ultimately picked up the win. And then after the match, we had Raquel and Liv attack Lyra, and this brought out Bayley for the save. And I think they're probably going to set up something between Bayley and Raquel. That's what it looks like they're leaning towards. But I do think this was a good showing for Lyra and just makes her look like one of the strongest members on the Raw roster. So then we have a backstage segment with Jay and Jimmy Uso, and Jimmy is telling his brother, like, look, like, you got to snap out of it. I need the real Jay Uso back. He's told him that he's been slipping, that he's been in his head, and that this isn't really him. And I think it's interesting that they're kind of leaning in on Jay being in his head, and that's why he's making these mistakes in the ring. And I don't know if that was like the original plan or the intention, but I do think it's smart for them to kind of use that in the story and say, like, he's messing up because he's so in his head, he's so focused on like trying to prove everybody wrong, and this is causing him to not be himself. So I think that's a good way to spin it. And then they had Jimmy confront Gunther, and basically he challenged him to a one-on-one match, and Gunther is still talking trash, so Jimmy smacked him in the mouth and he smacked him really hard too. So that was crazy, and Gunther didn't even react. So I do find it kind of strange that Gunther didn't retaliate, but I guess we'll see next week when they fight one-on-one, Gunther kind of get his revenge. And so then we have Adam Pearce in the ring, and he says that the contract that Rhea Ripley signed isn't official, and that she's not actually in the championship match with Io Sky and Bianca Belair, and that she is entitled to a rematch, but that he's been trying to set one up with her, but because she's been so all over the place lately, that he hasn't been able to actually set that match up with her. And so then she comes out, then we have Bianca come out and Io, and they get into another altercation. And so backstage, Adam Pearce announces that Rhea will take on Io Sky one-on-one, and that's when she'll get a rematch. And you can tell that he was just like done with this whole situation. He's tired of them like bickering and fighting with each other. And so he's just like, look, y'all are fighting one-on-one, and then Bianca is going to be the special guest referee, and we'll see how everything plays out after that. And so then we get another pre-recorded promo, this time just highlighting the War Raiders and kind of showing off their dominance. And I do appreciate when they do things like this, when you have wrestlers who aren't on the show, but you just want to give the audience a reminder about them and just kind of highlight how good they've been and just kind of keep them fresh in memory. And then after that, we had the New Day. They came in, talked to Adam Pearce, and they were saying like, hey, we think we're the best tag team in the world and we want a title shot. But Adam Pearce was so done with everything that night, he was just like, look, I can't deal with this right now. He's like, y'all will have a match next week. If y'all win, then y'all may have a title shot. But he basically just told them to get out of his office, and he was so through with it. So then we get to the actual Dragon Lee versus El Grande Americano match. And unsurprisingly, it was a very good match. Like I said before, Chad Gable is one of the better wrestlers on the roster. So I wasn't surprised that he was able to kind of adjust his style a bit and do more of a luchador friendly style while still maintaining a lot of his same move set. But I think him and Dragon Lee have good chemistry in the ring. And I think that this storyline with Chad Gable and the luchadors is just going to continue to get better because you have such strong wrestlers involved in the feud. So as long as they continue to put on good matches, I feel like people are going to be into this storyline. I think this was the only match to get the "This is awesome" chant of the night, and they really did put on an awesome match. And they gave them time to work. They gave them time to tell a good story. And then at the end of the match, unfortunately, Dragon Lee's mask ended up getting knocked off, and so Americano was able to pick up the win. And it's just funny to see where this storyline is going to go, but I'm definitely into it so far. So then CM Punk came out and he called out Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, and he said that their match is official for WrestleMania, so we're going to have a triple threat match. And he also said that they're going to have a contract signing next week in London. And unsurprisingly, the crowd booed this. Like I said before, no audience is happy when you come out to announce stuff that's not going to happen on the show that they're at. So hopefully they do less of that. But yeah, this was pretty much your standard promo. We didn't get too much new information, but the crowd, they love to see CM Punk, so they gave him a lot of love. And finally, the last match of the night was a championship match between Bron Breakker and Penta for the Intercontinental Championship. And like I said before, I was interested in seeing this matchup because you had the two contrasting styles, with Penta being a luchador and Bron Breakker being more of a power wrestler. But I think they put on a pretty good match overall. I think Bron Breakker has been consistently one of the better wrestlers on the roster. I can't remember him having a bad match. And obviously, Penta has been on fire since he's joined the Raw roster. So tonight's matchup was pretty good. We had a bunch of big spots. You had Braun Breaker obviously using his speed and bouncing off the ropes and kind of getting his power moves off on Penta, but Penta was able to pull off a lot of his more high flying moves. And so I think they were putting on a good matchup, but it was kind of diminished because we had the Judgment Day who kept constantly interfering, and they were trying to get Penta to join the Judgment Day, and they were setting it up like the Judgment Day were going to help Penta win the championship, but ultimately they ended up attacking Braun Breaker and costing Penta the match by giving Braun the win by disqualification. And so after the match, they're attacking Braun, and then they bring in a chair, and they're kind of encouraging Penta to hit Braun with the chair, but he decides against it, and he attacks the Judgment Day. So they end up beating him down, and then we have the Judgment Day standing over top at the end. So it was a bit of a disappointing finish. I feel like Braun and Penta could have had a better match without the interference, and I think that they should have been allowed to just have a one-on-one matchup. But I understand the story they're trying to tell, and I didn't really think that they were going to let Penta win the belt this soon anyway, so it just felt like a disappointment. But overall, I think my score for tonight is 3 out of 5. Again, this was another promo-heavy episode, just like Friday Night SmackDown. I think the matches that we did have were pretty good. We had a couple of championship matches and we had a couple of tag team matches that were pretty good, but um, they definitely can come back on the promos and give us more wrestling, especially leading up to WrestleMania. I feel like the fans just want to see more of their favorite wrestlers actually wrestle on the show versus, kind of setting up matches in the future. So hopefully we'll get back to that. But yeah, this was another disappointment of an episode coming off of last week.